Hi, you are welcome to Law and Society with Teresa Mary. Today we are taking topic number 2. You can't lose what you don't have. A time-worn quote from Shakespeare's Othello goes thus: "Good name in man and woman, dear my lord, is the immediate jewel of their souls. Who steals my purse steals trash. 'Tis something, nothing, 'twas mine, 'tis his, and has been slave to thousands. But he that filches from me my good name robs me of that which not enriches him and makes me poor indeed." The law is totally in agreement with the above position of the legendary Shakespeare that a good name is the jewel that adorns the soul of any man or woman. Thus, the law does not take it kindly when anyone tries to trifle with the good name of his neighbor. The right to freedom of speech does not give anyone the license to assassinate the character of his fellow men. If anyone should publish words calculated to reduce the image of someone else in the estimation of ordinary right-thinking members of the public, if such words are in print, the person will be held liable for libel. And if the words are only verbal, the one who utters them is liable for slander. Libel and slander are branches of the thought of defamation. Anything said or printed to injure another's reputation and cause that other to be exposed to hatred, contempt, or ridicule, or disparage him in his office, trade, calling, or profession, or injure his financial credit, is a tort of defamation and is to be redressed upon proof by the award of damages against the defendant in favor of the claimant. Be that as it may, we must bear in mind that it is not every verbal assault or published insult which tends to disparage someone and reduce him in the estimation of others that must necessarily ground a claim in damages. There is a saying that truth is bitter. If the offensive statement so published by the defendant is the truth concerning the claimant, no court will award claimant damages for defamation. This is because the defense of justification will then avail the defendant. The principle in this regard flows from the fact that the law will never permit a man to recover damages in respect of injury to a character which he does not possess in the first place. A case in point here is that of KB. KB was a notorious criminal and an ex-convict. The first day he worshipped in All Believers Church Incorporated, aka ABC, he asked the General Overseer, Bishop Z, to permit him to give an open testimony before the congregation, and the man of God obliged him. When the young man handled the microphone, his testimony was a bang. He soon had the whole congregation shaking with emotion as he related the story of his life of crime. "I come from a fairly wealthy family, brothers and sisters," said he. "So it was not poverty that pushed me into crime. It was not lack of education either. I was one of the best brains in the department of chemistry when I was in the university. As a matter of fact, I graduated with a first class. So why did I go into crime? Why? The devil just seemed bent on destroying me for nothing. Just like a schoolboy, brothers and sisters, I graduated from the elementary grade for pickpockets and petty thieves to the secondary grade, which is armed robbery, and from there to the tertiary level, which is kidnapping and hired killing. I was in prison when my poor mother died. My life of crime caused her to die of hypertension." In the middle of his testimony, he burst into tears, explaining to the congregation how Bishop Z's sermon had so touched his spirit and filled him with a burning desire to turn a new leaf and give his life to Christ. That day marked the beginning of a father-son relationship between Bishop Z and KB. The bishop told KB that he was a modern-day St. Paul, for he could foresee that the good Lord was about to use him to bring the light of Christ into the underworld of which he had been a part. The bishop sent KB to a Bible college. Upon his graduation, the man of God made him an assistant pastor in his church. Pastor KB, as he now became, turned out indeed to be a great light in All Believers Church Incorporated. He became a powerful preacher and pulled youths in droves into the church, so that Sunday after Sunday, when the altar call would be made, many young men and women would step out to openly renounce cultism and other vices and give their lives to Christ. The church began to boom, and Pastor KB was well aware that he had a major hand in the growing success of All Believers Church Incorporated, and he soon began to pressure Bishop Z for a raise. When Bishop Z told him that 5 months of working was too short a time for an assistant pastor to begin to expect promotion, Pastor KB took offense and pulled out to form his own church. And in pulling out, he pulled away many of the youths of ABC out with him. A furious Bishop Z marched to Pastor KB's new church one Sunday and caused a mighty scene before the congregation. He alleged that the former choir master of All Believers Church Incorporated, ABC, who had pulled out with Pastor KB, had taken his church's new piano along with him, insisting that the piano presently being used in Pastor KB's new church was that very same one which had been stolen from his church. But Pastor KB denied it. "I want my property back, you rogue," Bishop Z yelled at Pastor KB. "Armed robber. I made a mistake in thinking that you could change. But you have proved right the saying, once a thief, always a thief. I can now see that you lied when you claimed to have retired from your life of crime. A leopard cannot change its spot after all. Thief, robber. You were not satisfied with stealing my church members. You had to steal my piano as well." The congregation was scandalized. A number of the worshippers had got Bishop Z's outburst recorded on their cell phones, viewing it as a clear case of defamation of their pastor's character. Pastor KB himself vowed that he would not take the slander lying down, especially as he was totally convinced that the piano in his church was not Bishop Z's, because he had purchased it himself and had a receipt to evidence this. Pastor KB consulted a lawyer without delay and briefed him to take out a suit against Bishop Z for defamation of character, slander, claiming 500 million naira damages. When the matter came up for hearing in Fortune Town High Court, defense counsel pleaded justification, urging court to throw out claimant's claim as frivolous and vexatious, since claimant did not possess the character which he alleged that defendant had defamed. Defense laid evidence to prove that claimant had, a couple of years previously, made an open confession before a mammoth congregation that he had been an armed robber, a hired killer, a kidnapper, etc. In spite of claimant's evidence that he was now a born-again and clean man of God, defense urged court to hold that no good name adorning claimant's soul, as Shakespeare might say, had been stolen from him by defendant. All told, claimant lost his case against defendant, as court reasoned that by the evidence before it, the defense of justification availed defendant, for claimant could not have lost the good name he never had. Thank you very much for listening. I'll have you another time on Law and Society with Teresa Mary. Goodbye.